Bobby W. Tredinnick. It's honestly one of those presentations that makes you rethink things you never gave much thought to, like the actual process of transporting adolescents to mental health treatment.
Yeah, exactly. And, when I first glanced at the title, I just assumed transport meant, well, a car ride, logistical stuff. But the core question Tredinnick really digs into is what happens to a young person psychologically during that transition from home to admissions, especially when it's involuntary? And why isn't that slice of time treated as a clinical opportunity, almost like the first therapy session, rather than just a handoff?
Right. I had no idea that, according to the paper, 1 in 5 adolescents in the US has a severe mental health disorder that might require intervention. And with a 50% spike in psychiatric admissions from 2019 to 2024, that's staggering. But what really stuck out for me was this legacy practice. They call it the goon squad, which treats transport as a purely physical, security-focused exercise. No attention to the adolescent's psychological state, no standardized metrics or accountability. Basically, it can end up traumatizing the very kid you're trying to help.
It's wild, isn't it? And honestly, that's still the default paradigm in a lot of places. Not just scary for kids, but counterproductive. I think Tredinnick's argument is clever. What if we reframe transport as a liminal, in-between state, almost like a rite of passage? He borrows from anthropology, Turner, Van Gennep, to say that the period between home and treatment center is actually when kids are most malleable, most open to a new story about who they are.
I love that liminal state idea. There's something almost poetic about it, this literal and psychological in-between, where a kid isn't quite their old self, but hasn't become the patient yet. Tredinnick argues you can use that state for clinical good if you approach it right. He lays out steps: be radically transparent, offer limited choices, regulate your own emotions as a staffer so you can help the kids settle down, and script the parent handoff super carefully.
Mm-hmm. And the whole performance phenomenon bit was fascinating to me. Basically, kids act very differently in front of their parents versus strangers, and transport is this weird window where the audience changes, their performance drops, and you sometimes see their real vulnerability or self if you handle it skillfully.
Yes, and, okay, slight tangent here, but it reminds me of when you leave a job and suddenly realize you don't have to play whatever role you played at the office. You might have been the problem solver or the quiet one, but with none of those people around, you get to kind of reset. I mean, in a much less dramatic way than what these kids are going through, obviously.
Ha! No, I get that. But actually, it's not that different in structure. It's about leaving the old scripts behind. And Tredinnick says staff have to walk this delicate line: absolute authority, for safety, combined with absolute empathy. Like, I'm in charge, but I see your pain.
It really does feel like a kind of clinical dance. For families and clinicians listening, the takeaway isn't that transport is just logistics. It's the start of the treatment. If the first interaction is cold or even traumatic, it can poison trust for the rest of the process.
Exactly. And the point isn't that this approach is the final word. It's more that research like this helps us rethink old assumptions. It's a prompt to ask, are we missing chances to help in places we haven't even looked?
Maybe that's the spirit of the paper. Stay curious and look for meaning in every step, especially the overlooked ones.
Couldn't agree more.